I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is the Fox 26 Tropical Update just for YouTube. Glad you found us here on our YouTube channel. If you've just wandered in for the first time, always encouraged to subscribe. You get a lot more than just tropical information, a lot of daily updates on things happening across the Houston area. And then even more than that, we also have some of our other programming besides just news, like the Isaiah Factor and the Nightcap are always posted here. You might want to investigate those sometime when you got the opportunity. But I know you're here now to talk about the tropics, so let's jump right into things as we have been talking about Don over in the Atlantic. That's really been the only thing happening in the Atlantic for the last couple of days at least. And Don is just not sure what it wants to do, but it doesn't want to strengthen. That's for sure. And right now, the latest update, 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon from the National Hurricane Center, actually has Don weakening now into a tropical depression, a subtropical depression. So remember, first of all, once it gets a name, it'll keep that name no matter if it weakens or strengthens. So normally a depression has a number, but that's why it still has the name of Don, because it's secured that name. And so also if it becomes a tropical or a subtropical or a post-tropical or any of that other stuff, it's still going to be referred to as Don. Now, we're still not real clear exactly what Don wants to do because it's just kind of a big old mess out there. It's really spread out. It's not completely being driven by the hot waters or the warm waters. It's because it's not all that warm, to be honest. We're going to look at water temperature here in just a moment. But 4 o'clock advisory says 35-mile-an-hour winds. Again, that's why it's been downgraded to a depression. Still subtropical, so not quite meeting all those characteristics necessary to be a tropical cyclone necessarily, but it's still acting like one for the most part, although very much disorganized. And you can see, here's that current position, going to continue to head towards the east a bit and then start to curve around and then perhaps become a tropical system and then head back a little bit more to the west. So just sort of meandering, just circling around in the middle of the Atlantic and barely hanging on to enough organization and wind speed that the National Hurricane Center would even need to keep an eye on it. But it is for now, and that's again kind of what we're looking at. This is the latest on subtropical depression Don. So let's talk about water temperature for just a minute. This part of the Atlantic is not really bubbling warm. As a matter of fact, it's in the 70s, and again, this is the path that Don has taken, and then I took off that forecast cone, but you remember it kind of had that curve to it and kind of looped around. So the water temperature right now, it's close to being in the lower 70s, especially when the storms are churning up the water. That'll, of course, cool it down as well. But as the direction that it's headed, we're still talking about mid to lower 70s, and that's not going to drive. It's not going to really build it up. It really takes temperatures in the 80s for tropical cyclones to really start flourishing. So we've been talking about water temperatures quite a bit as far as sort of that overall forecast for the season is concerned, because in a bigger picture, we've got a lot of warm water in the Atlantic, but it's just not really happening right here where we find subtropical depression Don at the moment. If this system were to be in other portions of the Atlantic, those warmer waters would really be driving it quite a bit. I would think we could most likely take the sub part off of that and it would be a tropical system. So these are the areas that we're most concerned with when we see those temperatures in the 80s, and especially when you start getting up to the mid to the upper 80s, that really just drives the system much, much stronger, much, much quicker, that rapid intensification. So not happening right now, but certainly sort of what we're keeping an eye on as we're moving through the season overall. The rest of the Atlantic, as I mentioned, has been quite fairly quiet, especially here in the Gulf of Mexico, getting some of that influence of that high pressure that's parked itself over the state of Texas and even reaching further than that as far as kind of that heat wave is concerned. We have also certainly been talking a bit about what's happening in the Pacific. We've been tracking Hurricane Calvin, but as of that latest update from the Hurricane Center, the wind speeds have dropped to 65 miles an hour. So that's below the criteria for a hurricane. We're now talking about a strong tropical storm, and that forecast path is still taking it right towards the Hawaiian Islands. So the United States is still concerned about a tropical storm making a landfall. That's not the continental U.S., of course. We're talking about the state of Hawaii. But you'll notice as we move through time, we've got maximum sustained winds right now at 65 miles an hour. We get to Monday afternoon, they're 45 miles an hour. We get to Tuesday afternoon, they're 40 miles an hour. And then Wednesday, barely hanging on still at 40 miles an hour. So this tropical storm here in the forecast is a much different tropical storm than what we have right now. And for those folks who are in the Hawaiian Islands, will be especially glad to note that that storm is decreasing in its strength as it continues to get closer to the United States there and Hawaii, with those winds getting down towards the minimum of what it would need to even be a tropical storm. So still keeping an eye on Calvin, but Calvin now downgraded to a tropical storm. We're glad to hear that, and we're hopeful that will continue to fall apart as it moves closer to Hawaii. A reminder for you, the Fox 26 weather app, you don't have to be in the Houston area to take advantage of this app. If you'll go to your app store, you'll download that. All the tropical information is on there. So if you wanted to see those updates and see those forecast fans for what's out there right now, you could do that with Don and Calvin, are both being put right there on the Fox 26 weather app. Now, of course, that would be more important to you if you were in those locations. So this is sort of that preparation side of things, getting ready for if a storm were to kind of move closer to you. And of course, the Fox 26 weather app does have forecasts anywhere you have a zip code, and you can look at the radar as well with the follow me function. Just some things to think about. We do these updates here on YouTube every day of hurricane season, so that means we'll be back again tomorrow, a little bit after 4 p.m. Central Time, for the latest on what's happening in the tropics. We'll look for you then.